Let's get down to business, everybody. Why not? Random conversations aside now. We are ready, mostly ready, for our fourth season with the St. Louis Cardinals. It has been 3 years of doing our best to tank this team. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of that. The roster is set for the next season, but the one thing I talked about towards the trade deadline of last season that totally derailed the amount of time it took to actually get through the trade deadline was the idea of potentially moving some people around to optimize them.
To walk through this fucking
Got the
grass.
shrunk chart. What a name. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I did go through, and we have moved a couple of people around in terms of where they are playing. Thoughts on this burger? Jesus Christ. Okay, normally I'd just be like, all right, Rowan, I'm going to ignore you. From the Australian McDonald's website, the Big Brekkie Burger. Not an ad. What the hell? Hash brown, melting cheese, rasher bacon, freshly cracked egg. Barbecue. The barbecue sauce for breakfast. Why not, right? Probably not for me. Would I try it? Yes, but dude, that feels like way too much to kick off a day with. Holy shit. The idea of that being okay, it says breakfast in the name, but come on, that's not breakfast. That's not breakfast. Anyway, this particular roster, of course, for our catchers, similar situation that we have had now for a little bit, right? Pretty similar situation, at least dating back to the trade deadline. Ethan Salas, we are still going to keep down in AAA for one more season, which gives us a little bit more time with Ivan Herrera, who's under contract through next year, and then Pedro Pajez is also signed for quite a while. Didn't notice with Herrera how kind of mid he was from a defensive standpoint. If it identifies as a breakfast burger for you to try. Hey, I mean, I'm just saying, I wouldn't eat it as a breakfast burger. That's all. I wouldn't eat it as a breakfast burger. That thing would, you'd just be so slow out of the gates to start your day after eating that. But in terms of the rest of the catchers, we got some people in the system. It's nothing too crazy. But I don't hate our situation here. First base is where we see some changes. We have moved Nolan Gorman from second base over to first base. Primary reason is he is too slow to play a corner outfield position. He has 37 speed. His fielding's not quite as good as I want it to be for a second baseman, even though he does have an accurate arm. He doesn't have a very strong arm. So Nolan Gorman switched over to first base. We also signed Wilmer Flores before I decided that decision. Still got Chunky Harris down in AAA at first base. He's just not ready to start yet. Gene Denson was that bust of a left fielder that I drafted last year. We moved him to first because he can't play the outfield. Again, his fielding's not good enough. He's too slow, even though he has decent arm strength. So, I mean, he's not going to be much. But we also moved over some other people that fit that description. Anybody on this team is a prospect who just does not have the defense or the speed to play in another position. They've just been dumped to first base. So Tim Ramos, Jack Cerna, who was a center fielder, again, he's fast, but he needs to develop that glove. He cannot field. He is also 5'7" and 184 pounds. Ramon Guerra is pretty similar. Tim Tebow has also, was already at first base. And then Sammy Pena's there as well, down to a 38 after moving him from second base. But again, he's just terrible. Did you have to beat Gorman's head in to change position like in NHL? Shockingly, no. But yeah, good old Tim Tebow. The man. Second base, we signed Luis Garcia, which I'm okay with. Behind him, Tony Gonzalez. We brought back Dylan Moore. Juan Bin Cho was switched from center field to second base. mainly just because we had some depth there. His fielding's solid. I think he fits in pretty well at second base. He's close to being the type of outfielder that we want, but not quite. J.J. Weatherholtz has been switched over to second base as well. Again, just doesn't quite have the arm strength and the fielding I'd want from a third baseman or a shortstop. It's close, though. Totally spaced. This really says the game so far. Twins, I'm enjoying it. You know, still could, of course, find some complaints here and there, but I am enjoying this particular game. Third base, Brett Beatty. George Lombard Jr. moved over from shortstop to third. Again, a little bit better of a defender than what we saw from the likes of Weatherholtz. We got Villarreal at third base, and then just a bunch of filler. Shortstop, Mason Wynn's still there. Chase Davis moved from left field to shortstop, just based on his defensive abilities, the speed. And then James Tulibitz as well, who was a third baseman. Needs to develop his arm a bit, but he does have a really, really solid glove. Some decent speed as well. I think he can fit in really well at shortstop if he can just develop his arm. And then left field, still have Evan Carter. Andreas Ibanez was moved from third base to the outfield. Not the best fielder in the world, but he does have a decently strong arm. So I feel like that makes for a pretty decent corner outfielder. Omar Rodriguez as well moved from shortstop to left field. Same thing. Decent arm strength, decent speed, just doesn't have the fielding and reaction time to play the infield positions that we need. So, sucks the game's not on Game Pass this year. Probably won't buy until the opening day deals go on. That's fair. That is fair. I know for a lot of people it was disappointing news, but, you know. Center field, we still have Michael Ciani, Alcantara, Green, Rivas. I mean, really no crazy changes there. And then right field, of course, Jordan Walker, still the starter. You got Tibbs, Mark Valley, and Matt Arnez. The biggest changes, though, probably for pitchers. Our new closer is Ben Joyce. Now, there was kind of an internal debate about what I wanted the tie break to be, but his velocity, his break, the pitching clutch, if he gets into trouble, I just feel like he's very, very well suited to be that just flame-throwing closer. We also moved Ronaldo Lopez over for that reason. Kind of a lesser version of Ben Joyce. 4 relievers. Got Ryan Fernandez, Josh Swanger, of course, who was the closer. Adbert Alzolay, still there as well. But you'll notice some names missing, and that is because we switched relievers with at least 60 stamina to starters, resulting in DJ Hers going up to an 83 overall, Tony Gonsolin's back up to an 82, Eric Goodson jumps to a 79. So out of nowhere, a bunch, I mean, these top 3 guys were all like mid-70s relievers at best. They are our 3 best starting pitchers now. So, and then we also have Bobby Miller, Quinn Matthews, Tink Hence on the roster. Graceffo was a reliever. He's now a half-decent starter. Still got James Bond trying to develop if he can. Happy about that. Wyatt Sposato, who we picked up in a trade not all that long ago. Bill Ullman, our first-round pick last year. Excited to see what he might be able to do. Got Bob Henley, Jimmy Nunez. I mean, we got a lot of starters in the mix. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. The rotation is DJ, Gonsolin, Goodson, Miller, and Matthews. But a couple long relievers in the mix now. I think we got a nice little bullpen balance. It actually has Ryan Fernandez as the closer. Tim Tebow and James Bond in the same franchise. My one regret is we did not get Choo Choo, which would have been nice. And then, yeah, lineup-wise, at least against righties, Ciani, Wynn, Herrera, Gorman, Garcia, Carter, Walker, Beatty, and Alcantara. So, I don't know if we'll be a bottom 5 team in the league this year like we've been over the last couple of seasons. Time will tell. Time will tell. But to the start of the regular season, we're 25th overall. Our pitching's up to 18th. Surprisingly, our defense isn't a little bit better. How good was Choo Choo? Unfortunately, not that good. But it also means I might be able to pick him up easier. Top prospects in baseball. The Mets still have the top 2 from the same drafts. That closer that the Orioles drafted, they're apparently going to have that guy in single A, Chris Karowski. What the hell are you doing? The hell are you doing there? But let's see. Where is our first prospect? It's Omar Rodriguez, who we moved into left. Bill Ullman debuts at number 18. Not bad. Bob Henley at number 25. Let's see. Who else do we have in the mix? Chunky Harris at number 42. Sposato at 43. That's a decent amount of prospects in the top 50. Do we have any extra between 50 and 100? We have Eric Goodson at number 67. And hoping for one more. Please. James Bond. There he is, down at number 94. So, they're not as high on James Bond as they used to be, but we still have faith in him. We still have faith. So one more look over the roster, right? When we talk about what this draft is going to be. We don't exactly need a catcher, which is good, right? We got Salas in the system. First baseman, we have Chunky Harris. We're good. Second base. We should probably start to look for that future second baseman because I don't think it's going to be J.J. Weatherholtz. Whether or not we end up moving him to a different position or not, I just don't know if he's going to develop. Third base, we do have George Lombard Jr. in the mix, so I'm thinking for the moment, third base is okay. Maybe at best put it in like the maybe category. Shortstop, we do have James Tulibitz. I'd put that in the maybe category as well because, again, Mason Wynn, I just don't know if he's the guy. Left field, we have Evan Carter, Omar Rodriguez. I'd put that in the maybe category as well. We do need the big-time center fielder to eventually take over for Ciani. And then right field, we have Walker and Tibbs. I'm going to put right field in the maybe category as well. And then, honestly, starters and relievers are in that maybe category as well. I think second base and center field needs to be the big focus for scouting this year. And I believe we do have to set up our trade block here. Let's see. I don't really want to do anything with the catching situation right now. If we can flip Wilmer Flores, that's not the worst thing in the world. We still have Denson on the roster. But yeah, for the most part, we really don't have that much to do. And again, Brett Beatty's like a decent filler third baseman for now. I mean, if we can find a third baseman better than Tulibitz, it's not that bad. But yeah, for the most part, I think let's just see who the heck's out there and what offers we might get. So let's do it. Another season of Cardinals baseball. And this might end up being the first season that we start to turn it around, or we might still be absolutely terrible. I'm honestly not sure yet. Let's see. What do we want to do here to start? Honestly, we could do some discovery. Could. You know, I ask her, let's rock a little bit of discovery. At least for everybody but Brian Lopez. He's He is our weakest scout at the moment. Let's do... double pitcher West. And we'll have Lopez work on scouting. We'll have him work on scouting specific players at the top. Kevin Black, #1 projected pick, third baseman. Jesus. Okay, yeah, no, we're gonna want to find out all about that guy. Yeah, we're gonna want to find out all about that guy. In lieu of Flowers. Not only is this not the Buccos, this is the worst case scenario.
Highly unnecessary.
Well, you'll be happy to know, and thank you for the reset, but you'll be happy to know I've brought a lot of misery to this fan base over the past 3 years, fielding a barely watchable baseball team. And barely might honestly be generous. It might be. Like, this has been a bad team. Been a real bad team. So I'm familiar. Well, you should also then be happy to see that the Pirates are 17-4 and they don't even need me. So they finally turned the corner. You should be happy. Oh man, yeah, Kevin Black looks to be he's fast as hell too for a third baseman. Good fielder. Yeah, that guy's legit. I don't think there's any shot in hell he falls to us with our first pick. Might as well look at Brandon Hook as well. Why not? Just use this guy for the moment. Look at some of the players at the top of the board. Let's see. Yeah, I remember doing okay. 13-15. We're ahead of Milwaukee. Let's see. Do pitchers, international. Let's keep looking at old Captain Hook here. All right. 15-19. I mean... Again, like, my expectations aren't up yet for this team in any way. So, discovery for catcher is a tough one to justify. We really don't need a catcher. Let's do infield West. And honestly, scout position, starting pitcher West. Let's do that. Change things around a little bit, see if a different approach works out well. And that looks to be pretty common for us so far. 3 wins, 3 losses. That's probably what we're going to see a lot of here. Let's look at infield central. Let's look at starting pitchers central. See what else we can find. Let's see. Yeah, literally. Oh, man. Okay, it was almost 2 weeks in a row of 3 wins and then 3 losses, but we did beat Cleveland again. And yeah, in terms of infield discovery, things are not going well. Not at all. Gotta wonder if that's going to be maybe a little bit too wasteful by the end of it. But at this point, we're sticking with it. We're sticking with it. We're almost back up to 500. It's not bad. What we got for infield, international, starting pitchers, international. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we are very much a 500 ball club, which is all right. I don't hate it. Let's see. Outfield West. Have you work on... I guess we can go relievers. We should have enough time to do what I need to do here. Maybe. Could argue the double scouting might hurt us more than anything, but you know what? Screw it. I said I'm willing to try some different things. Tampa offers us Buddy Kennedy for Dylan Moore. No thanks. It's just no point. Chunky checkup, midway point of the season. Midway point of the season. We're actually over 500, and we've surpassed the Cubs in the standings. I don't really know how we're pulling that off, to be honest. Oh, man, yeah, this is going to be close. Launch optimized by scout rating. It did not matter that much. I mean, the problem is we only have so much time. They definitely matter. All right. You know, discovery-wise, I'm not too worried about those last few outfield spots. We just need to, do what we got to do here. So, let's see. Can't say I'm too confident in that approach of just going discovery heavy, but I kind of like putting ourselves behind the 8 ball a little bit. So let's see. We got 4 weeks left. How do we want to go about this? Again, biggest thing that we needed was second baseman. So we will focus. Whoops, I had a first base in there. There we go. Let's focus on some second baseman here. See, every time I mess around with Discovery, I always end up regretting it, and I'm at that point already. Let's go second base international. We need to look at center fielders in the West, center fielders in the East. Let's see what else. Shout out to Master Yoshi. Great name. Thank you for the follow. We're still hanging. I mean, literally right at 500. 39 wins, 39 losses. Again, don't think we'll be a playoff team at all. But that is okay. Let's go center field East and international. And then from there, we will go... Let's see. Okay, good. We're going to get a look at those center fielders. Let's go starting pitcher West again. See what else we can find. Texas League first half. Royals offer a trade. Wilmer Flores for Emmanuel Rivera. Well, I mean, I guess technically, no, why bother? Why bother? Team is what it is. 42 and 42. Identical record with the Cubs, too. That's not bad. All right, let's see. Starting pitcher Central. Starting pitcher East and starting pitcher International. So, yeah. Definitely went too heavy into Discovery this time out, but that's okay. Not too worried. All right. So the final week, got some center fielders that we know a couple things about, but not a ton. Not a ton. We definitely need to look at more starting pitchers. Again, we're not really worried about catchers because we don't need anybody. Second base. Drew Kretlow. Nolan Ponson. Could definitely look at the second baseman a little bit more. West Central and International. What do we got in center field? Definitely look at the center fielders a bit more. International. East and West at the top of it. So, I mean, Andy Moore at center field. Definitely look at him, given how high up he's projected to go. We don't know anything about Bud Rosen, but we don't necessarily need a third baseman. We did discover this Brian Jones option. The starting pitcher that we don't know a ton about. Shortstop that we don't know a ton about either. All right. Here's what we'll do. Top second baseman that we don't know much about. Since we do know a good amount about Brandon Hook, let's get a little bit more information, probably about Nolan Ponson, since we have Kretlow at 20%. So we'll look at Nolan Ponson. Let's look at the top center fielder, which is Andy Moore. Yeah, we'll get more information about him, pun intended. And then the top starting pitcher that we don't have a ton of info on. Arnold Leeson. Or we look more at this guy who was unranked. Let's go for that. So we'll look at our biggest needs. And we'll see if Discovery paid off. A strategy of scouting specific players not as effective this year. Risk reward, right? I think it depends on where you are in the draft as to whether or not it's worth it. Considering we're still super high up in the draft order, it's still worth it for us, but sooner rather than later, it's just going to be generic, looking at whoever we can. Marlins get Justin Martinez, the 26-year-old closer, for Mickey Moniak, Victor Caratini, and Aaron Schunk. So the Marlins pick up a top-notch closer for a bit of depth across the board. The Diamondbacks, that is, as they give up Justin Martinez. And that brings us to the 2028 draft. I cannot say I'm overly confident. I did waste probably a little bit too much time in Discovery, and that's okay. Top of the board. Actually, I'll stay over here. Kevin Black, the third baseman. I mean, incredibly solid outside of the power game. You're correct. I know exactly what you mean. Then there's Andy Moore in center. Yeah, I mean, from a speed and contact perspective, he's already outstanding. Already. You know, the arm accuracy might end up leaving a bit to be desired. But in terms of an at-the-plate threat, he's insane. Roberto Silva, as a starter, at least has that above-average velocity. I am worried about some of his attributes, though, from what we know about it. He's okay, but I'm not totally sold. Third baseman, Bud Rosen. We knew nothing about him anyway. What about Nolan Ponson at second base? Similar to the outfielder. Doesn't have great arm strength, but he is a second baseman with decent fielding, so that's not bad. What about Brandon Hook? Just looks like a worse version of Ponson, so... Brian Jones, that starting pitcher. No velocity, no break. I don't like him. I don't like him. What about Nate Keith as a starting pitcher? Not a ton going on there either. Does the game make two-way prospects? I actually don't know because I don't think I've seen one. But that doesn't mean it's not possible, right? Couple shortstops you know nothing about. What about Kretlow? High risk, high reward for Drew Kretlow. Willie Cervantes. High risk, high reward. Okay. Well, again, we have the 6th overall pick. We have 5 players on our board. Let's see what happens here. Let's see. And then second round and beyond, who the hell knows? But it's Colorado, Washington, and San Diego at the top of the board. Rockies have that 1st overall pick, and they select the center fielder, Andy Moore. I think that's a hell of a pick for them, man. Fast as hell, great contact hitter. Andy Moore on his way to the Rockies. Not surprising. I expect to see that third baseman go next. 2nd overall pick is starting pitcher Roberto Silva. Off to Washington. 19 years old, going on 39. Judging by the player face, but fair enough. And the 3rd overall pick, it is Arnold Larson. Okay. San Diego goes off the beaten path. We go for the guy who was ranked 21st. Yeah, bearded I saw, which, nice to see the Bengals finally spending money, right? All right, so we got Houston and Texas. My hope is for Ponson or Kevin Black. Houston selects Luis Saucedo, so we're going to get one of the two. Saucedo was projected 29th. The Texas Rangers, the Titas, select Nate Keith. who was projected 13th. So we have our choice. Kevin Black, who was the number 1 projected prospect heading into this draft. I mean, it's tough to say he's not the guy, isn't it? Or the 18-year-old Nolan Ponson. We go for the first guy. Ponson might not be bad, but the number 1 projected guy fell to us. He's a guaranteed B potential. We're taking Kevin Black. That could be the steal of the draft right there. The easiest choice we've had so far for a first-round pick at number 6. Kevin Black on his way to St. Louis. Hassar, it's not breaking. 3 people have mentioned it already, but I know exactly what you're going to type. So welcome in, Kevin. A squared, what's going on, dude? Let's see. Our next pick is 35th. Obviously, our short list is incredibly short, so we're just going to go through and see what happens. Yeah, and the guys are off the board. Okay, so we got 4 minutes here to do some research because we have 2 of the next 6 picks. So we have, Brian Jones as a starter. A squared, I'd call it improved. Not perfected, but definitely improved. Again, for Brian Jones, though, it's tough, right? Again, the lack of velocity and break, to me, is brutal. I think we keep him around, but I don't think I could take him this early. There's shortstop Jason Murphy, which, again, we barely have him scouted. I don't know if we can necessarily trust that, you know? Giancarlo Feliciano. Another starter that we discovered who, again, is very similar. Very similar to the other guy. Gage Long's at 15%. Similar to the other ones. Let's look at 25% scouted. Jerry Benson. Very similar to the others. Not too inspired by these starters here. What about Greg Clausen? I'm not very inspired by these starters. There's a random reliever in Derek Swan that we could take a chance on. Garlobo, Silva, Pritchett, we didn't do enough. Israel Maraville? Might have some decent break, not enough scouting. Yeah, you don't say. You don't say. Oh, man. I mean, again, right now, it really is gonna be a lot of best guess here. That is what this is down to. We are just gonna be adding to our list left and right. And we'll see who we end up with. We'll see. But, I mean, we definitely discovered some decent players, but yeah, in terms of then having the time to scout them out, didn't quite happen. Like I said, I did take too long in the discovery phase. But we will just take care of ourselves for later in this draft. We are just going to add as many people to our queue as possible. And we'll take it from there. See if we can find anybody overly promising. But yeah, there's a lot of room for players here, so I'm not complaining. A lot of room for players, goddamn. But yeah, I have no idea what the hell we're gonna draft. I swear to God, I hear an owl outside of my fucking window, and it's throwing me off. I swear to God. I guess, you know, tis the season. All the wildlife is waking up. There's 100% an owl outside of my fucking window. Huh. How do you like that? Oh, I'm aware of the time. We're gonna let the clock go for whoever was first in the queue, and we're gonna hope for the best because Again, it's not overly pretty right now in terms of the options. There was nobody that I was like, oh my God, we have to get this person. So it ends up being the starting pitcher, Brian Jones. Again, I'm not overly happy with what his stats look like, but maybe they'll end up being better than what they looked like, is all I can say. So we'll take the starter. Welcome in Brian Jones. And yeah, we'll just keep seeing who else we end up with. There's the other starter as well, Giancarlo Feliciano. It's a lot of pitching. It is a lot of pitching. Honestly, let's go for Feliciano as well. We'll just kind of leave it up to chance. Based off of the mistakes I made with scouting. Top guy on the board, Paul Cloven. Honestly, I'm cool with just going off of the order that our scouts had him in. Let's see if Paul Cloven, we did need a center fielder. We needed an infielder, so we have in theory addressed our needs if these players end up hitting. So you got Wes Jordan, Sean Newcomb, Troniga, Stephen Manuel, Oswald Oliva, Roger Davis. You know what? Let's trust Wes Jordan. Why not? We will trust. Especially considering Sean Newcomb's still there. We will trust. I'm all right with ending up with a lot of starters. That's fine. And then round number 6. Let's see. We got the shortstop. Got the closer, Oliva, Chad Major at shortstop. It's all the dudes that our scouts found. Let's go for Oliva. You liked Oliva the most? Let's see if we can trust how this panned out. This could end up being a disaster of a draft, but to be honest, I'm not completely afraid if it is. Not at all. All right. Let's find out who made the All-Star here. Are you Canadian? All I see is hockey Canadian teams. It's not all Canadian teams up there. But no, I am also not Canadian. Close enough, though. Living in New England, close enough. All right. Let's see. Wow, it's finally an AL home game. Jesus. All right, National League All-Stars. Mitchell Parker ends up being the starter. Do we have anybody? Mr. Martinez, of course, was traded. Christian Yelich made it for the Pirates at age 36. Jesus. Cruz, Pete Alonso, Ivan Herrera, once again, the starter at the All-Star game for the National League as catcher. Not upset about that. And he is our only All-Star. That doesn't surprise me, but also it is a little bit concerning as the White Sox offer us a reliever, Matthew Liberatore, who we do not need. Let's take a look at how the boys have been doing so far. We're at 47-50 in the midway point of the season. Herrera is crushing it, man. A 344 average. He's up to an 81. But 16 home runs, only 33 RBI. That is brutal. But a 991 OPS. He is destroying worlds. A 994 fielding percentage for a 4.2 WAR. He has been awesome. Pedro Pejez behind him at a 284. Which, again, he continues to be a really stellar backup option. But here's the problem. Ethan Salas is ready. We need to move on from at least one of these guys. And it has to be now. Because there's no point, really, in having Salas down in AAA. I mean, there is, but, you know, he needs that major league time now. Move Pejez to first base. That does pass the buck towards needing to make a change at first. However, it might be worth it because Nolan Gorman, while he is up to a 77, has 10 home runs, 35 RBIs, but a 197 batting average for a 618 OPS. I think we are done with the Nolan Gorman experience, especially in a contract year. Now, obviously, we could move Pedro or Herrera. To be honest, I'd probably move Herrera over to first. You know, he's the weaker fielder of the two. He's got the weaker arm. I'd probably move Herrera over to first. And then trade him next year to make room for Chunky Harris once he's ready. So that is a possibility, even though he just made the All-Star game as the starting catcher. Nolan Gorman has to go. And Wilmer Flores, a couple home runs, 214 average. Gene Denson has a 276 and 29 at-bats. He'd be out of position, though. No, he wouldn't. Who says? Who says he'd be out of position? Who says? Since when are we listening to that? Look, if Joey Gallo can decide, fuck it, I'm a pitcher now, like the day after, and again, this dates these videos, and that's fine. The day after we had the conversation of like, should I be able to move people? Joey Gallo's like, I'm a pitcher now, so fuck it. Fuck it. I have no issue with moving anybody around anymore. It's a part of baseball. What is also a part of baseball is injuries, and Luis Garcia in the first year of a 3-year deal is missing time due to a shoulder separation. 12 home runs, 51 RBIs, a 736 OPS. This contract might not age particularly well. Nick, we're still a pretty middling team. But, you know, we're getting there. Tony Gonzalez is looking okay. Weatherholt's making some decent improvements. He's up quite a few points this season. He's gained a lot in terms of his power hitting against lefties. Oh, and Chunky, by the way, that 288 average down in AAA. Brett Beatty. 11 home runs, 42 RBIs, and 812 OPS. He's still turning into a pretty decent filler player for now. Not bad. Mason Wynn is down an overall point. Oh, Jesus. 9 home runs, 33 RBIs, a 703 OPS. I am not sold on Mason Wynn. Has 5 errors on the season. He's got 1 year left on his deal. I don't think Mason Wynn's the guy. I really don't. He's going to want a big boy contract after next season, and I don't think we're the ones giving it to him. You might notice as well, top right, current roster strategy has switched from rebuilding to normal. So we are making some progress by the game's definition. Evan Carter, up to an 82. 20 dingers on the year. 54 RBI and 879 OPS. Evan Carter doing pretty well. Michael Ciani in center hitting 256. Obviously still a phenomenal defensive center fielder. And then the biggest question, Jordan Walker. He is up to a 77, which is nice. 11 home runs, 44 RBIs, a 779 OPS. I still don't know if Jordan Walker's the guy full-time either, but he is improving, even if he's currently on a cold streak. Let's see, for the closers, Ben Joyce has had a dreadful season, at least in terms of ERA through 53 innings. Ryan Fernandez doing a little bit better, 1-4 record. Swanger's done pretty well for himself. Payomp's not too bad. And Ausley's been pretty bad. DJ Harris as a starter, 4.02 ERA. I mean, okay. Not bad for a reliever turned starter. Gonsolin's in free fall. Eric Goodson has really struggled this year. Only through 33 innings pitched, though. Tony Gonsolin honestly hasn't been that bad. Bobby Miller, similar. Quinn Matthews, not so hot. Tink Hentz, not too bad. And then Michael McGreevy, not so hot. Okay. We are definitely going to have some roster changes we have to make here before we can see the results of that draft. No doubt.